As Jason said, I'm Myah. I'm from NAMAC. I'm one of the producers. I'm Jason's co-producer for the 50 State Dinner Party Project, and my official title is Producer of Youth Engagement Blog Editor. So that's me. And today, this is a youth perspective on youth media panel, or of youth media. But before we begin, we're actually going to start a video directed and produced by Gemikia Henderson, and it's entitled This is What It Feels Like. This is an excellent, just a very short 1-minute piece by one of our panelists today, Gemikia Henderson. And do you want to briefly talk about that video, just for a second?
Sure. This is what it feels like came from a solidarity action that we did in Richmond, California, back in December. It was around the time that Michael Brown was killed and all the stuff was going on, so we decided that we wanted to do something in our community to show that Richmond stands with Ferguson. So about less than 24 hours, we put together a solidarity action, and we had a lot of our community partners, a lot of community members come out and stand with us on the streets of McDonald for about 4.5 hours. So as long as Michael Brown was laying on the ground, that's how long we stood out. And we held up signs and all that. And then our police chief at the time decided to come and stand with us. And so he kind of went viral because he was holding a Black Lives Matter sign. So at the time, like, all the media was giving all this praise to our police chief and not to the people that came out and actually want to make a difference. So we just wanted to show how our young people and how we feel in our community being targets not only from the police, but also from the environment that we live in. So that's kind of where the piece came from.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for letting us see that. Thanks for showing it. It's really powerful. So once again, yeah, this is the youth perspective of youth media panel. My name is Myah, and I just want to quickly give official introductions to our panelists. So this is Izza Anwar. She is from 14 Black Poppies. She's a event planner, and she's very talented in that field. And this is Gemikia Henderson, sorry. She's from the Rye Center in Richmond, California, and she is a producer and director. And so before I get started in asking questions, getting the conversation going, I just want to quickly talk about some myths about youth, and what needs to change about these myths. So one is what? We're lazy, too media savvy, or too wrapped up in social media, so much that we're antisocial, right? Which is kind of funny. What else, guys? What are some other myths about us
that we don't respect our elders?
That we don't know what's going on?
That it's just a phase?
What are some other ones? There's a lot. I can't think of them.
That we don't know what's going on in the world, as in like past our high school boundaries.
Yeah, and so I just want to talk about what needs to change about these myths, because actually none of them are true. I can say so. I'm 18 years old. We're all millennials. And so what needs to change about these is that they're just not true. I think a lot of youth today actually break these myths in different ways, and I don't really understand how these myths aren't broken yet, you know what I mean? A lot of youth today, 80% of youth are actually in college right now, and that's a groundbreaking number. It's more than any other generation, and it's funny because it's also a huge amount of youth and young people that have a very large amount of debt also. So probably the most productive generation, which is contradicting some of the myths about us. So that's interesting, and I just wanted to briefly talk about that because I think it's really important to talk about those myths while we're having a youth panel. I think it only makes sense. So our first question, we'll start with you, Izza. What do media arts do for young people?
For starters, I want to say Wendy is right. It feels different being up here, a little nerve-wracking. But what do media arts do for young people? From my personal experience, to put it in like the simplest words, it gave me a voice. Working under Jason for 14 Black Poppies, I've produced an event, and I've also curated an art exhibit, and I've helped with like mini documentaries and stuff. And these are all different platforms where I was able to express myself, express my peers, express my community, and show like this is what my voice is and this is what I'm trying to say. And that's why it's important, because like media, everybody with youth associates media, as Wendy's saying, like the stereotype that we don't know past social media, but we do. And I feel like with excellent curation and like really good guidance, that us youth, we can really express ourselves beyond just a simple Twitter post or an Instagram selfie, because we do have that power, we do have that voice. We just need somebody to like provide us a stage where we can like shine to our like most potential.
Nice. And what do you think it reveals about our nation as a whole? And what do you think it reveals about our nation from a youth's perspective?
I think it goes back to the stereotyping thing where, like, I think people see how youth are using social media in a negative way, because of, especially like cyberbullying is one of the main things, which is an issue. But I feel like one of the things that I've noticed is that in the cities, in urban cities, there are a lot of these like really engaging, really cool liberal programs that gives youth an opportunity to like actually express yourself, do these like make mini documentaries and curate art exhibits. That's so cool. But the rest of the nation, the majority of the nation that's like suburbs and small towns, those youth don't have these amazing opportunities. And so their voice is kind of just still hidden. And I really hope in the future of youth media development that we really reach out and we really engage those youth who live in the suburbs or live in small towns, because everybody deserves like this opportunity to learn, because learning is one of the best things, to learn these things and be able to express their voice and like and make their stand in their community and in the world around them.
And how do you think youth media breaks some of the myths about us also?
I think one of the main myths is that, and this is something I've experienced myself too, when I see other youth or kids even younger than me, my little cousins, like when they create something, whether it's like a mini stop motion, it just shows me how much they're capable of. And I feel like other adults also have this like sort of epiphany when they see youth work, because like when you see like a little documentary or when you see a simple artwork, whatever it is, like, yes, it looks great, but when you actually talk to the artist and you hear like the amazing planning they put in there and like the reason behind why they did a certain thing, and you just like, it just engages you so much, and you really get a deeper understanding of like how much effort and work was put by this one young person into this one product. And it really just shows you how much more they're capable of. So it's like this great barrier of like seeing like there's more to you than just what is like shown.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Do you have anything to add, Gemikia, about that question? Do you have anything to add to that?
What's the question?
How does youth media break some of the myths about us, about young people?
It breaks the myth of us being lazy. Like making video or doing motion graphics or anything of the art form is not easy, and it's very time consuming, and you got to have a lot of patience to do it. So we are not lazy. We are very dedicated and passionate about what we do. So it breaks that myth.
Yeah, I think it also shows that we're also really powerful and that we also do have a voice in this society. I think it shows that we are capable of much more than it looks, right? I think we're capable of much more than just filming on our phones and posting pictures and editing them and posting them onto Instagram, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think youth media is really powerful in that sense. Gemikia, I have some a question for you. How have you grown while you've participated in youth media programs, personally, academically, creatively?
Personally, I grew up on the south side of Richmond, and predominantly that's not the gated community that people want to call it, right? My community is full of gun violence, so growing up in that environment, I became really numb to a lot of things that was happening, and just normalizing it as, well, that's just what happens, because that's the environment we live in. So getting to be a part of Rise and learning how to make videos and expressing myself through that gave me a voice that I thought I never had. I get to change my community and make awareness of things that happen in my community to my friends, to my family, to people I meet on the street. And it's a great feeling, right? Professionally, I'm better at meeting deadlines. That I am. I'm more confident in speaking. If I'm very shy and nervous at times, so I'm confident in speaking about the things that I'm passionate about. And also, I get to teach amazing young people in Richmond every single day. Like, from the range of 13 to 21 and sometimes older than that. Like, I'm maybe teaching people that's older than me. And I'm only 23, and I've accomplished a lot in just that short amount of time. And yeah, normally that doesn't happen from somebody from where I'm from. So, yeah.
Nice. And Izza, do you want to also answer that question?
How have I grown? I definitely agree with a lot that's been said, but one of the main things is I was also very shy, and doing these different, well, one, I have grown professionally, but also I've realized that I have a voice and it's really strong and powerful, and that I do want people to hear it because I have a lot to say. And that's been such it kind of feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulder, because like before, especially as like a Muslim person who wears a hijab, like in a Donald Trump's world, like it's kind of intense, because I feel like whatever I say, I have to defend myself. Whatever I do, I have to defend myself. But I feel like when I have a voice through like making a mini documentary or just making art, that there isn't that much pressure. I can just say what I need to say, have my voice spoken out without having to filter myself. And that's one of the most powerful, and that's one of the most like revealing feelings that I've gained from this.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. I think my personal experience is definitely similar to both of you guys. I grew up in East Oakland, so that's a pretty rough part of Oakland. And so personally, I think I've grown to speak up more and be unapologetic about the art that I produce, and be unapologetic about what I choose to call myself, and about standing up for what I believe in, and not being ashamed of what I'm involved in. And I've also learned to speak with adults. And I've learned to, find comfort in all of my situations, and find the beauty in everything, and love everybody. And so yeah, that's how I've grown. So our next question, this is for both of you guys, anybody can answer. How can we spread youth media to other places that are really unconventional, like churches, for example, and more schools? How do you think we can spread youth media?
By just showing up and showing a video. Pretty much. I mean, just creating a relationship with those who may have a stereotype about youth media, and just, the work will speak for itself, basically, is what I kind of go by. I can only say so much, and they can only listen to so much. So what I can do is just be like, hey, you want to see this, or you want to experience this? And hopefully they take to it the way that I want them to, and if not, then hey, they missed out on a really great opportunity. Somebody's gonna take it one day, so.
I think one of the things to notice is that majority of us, our phones have like really good cameras, right? We take photos and videos all the time, as we have been throughout these few days in the conference. I've been like documenting everything. And I think that in places like churches or like other places where like media isn't as big, we should just tell people, like, when you take a photo or when you take a small, like, whether you're taking a Vine or posting a video on Facebook, just continue doing that. But like one time you just took a simple photo, next time direct the photo a little bit. What do you want to get? Do you want to get a sign in there? Do you want more people in there? And slowly just start building up on it. Like every photo you take, every video you take, try getting in more, try getting a message there. What are the repeating symbols? And slowly just, and start collaborating with people around you. Like say like, I'll take a photo of this, you take a photo of that, but we'll be standing in opposite directions, and we'll post it on the same Instagram or on the same Facebook and see what people respond to that. I think like since we are so lucky as a generation to just have these amazing cameras and these amazing cameras that take video and photography, and we should really take a lot of advantage of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's easy for everybody to contribute to social media and youth media, and I think, yeah, it's really simple, but I think that if we spread it to more unconventional places, like, I think my prime example is churches, right? Like, you never see that. I go to a Baptist church in East Oakland. Like, there's no youth media. Right, you better not pull out your phone in church. That's just no. You don't think about that. You don't text, nothing. Or, I mean, if you're recording maybe a really outstanding, like, musical number by the choir, sure, and you're gonna, like, put it on a CD for everybody else to see. But other than that, there's no media in church, and I think that's really important for our young people to know that it's accessible to them also. I know there's a bunch of young kids at my church that are looking for that creative expression and that creative outlet, and I think it's really important. If anybody else wants to ask a question to us, we'd be happy to answer, but we have time, yeah.
I have a question from an adult perspective. I never thought I would ever say something like that, but I think there's a lot of buzz right now in my world talking about the impact of the selfie culture on your generation and the generation right below you. I did not grow up with a mobile phone, and the thought of one day having a daughter or a son and raising them in this culture really scares me. And even recently, This American Life has been doing these stories about how it becomes a vanity culture, and the statistics on, when a girl is 12, she's already had like 500 photos on social media, publicly accessible. And if you could speak a little bit to that culture, and then also the work that you're doing to maybe counter that culture, and where the future might go in a different direction or a better direction.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a very scary thing, because I'm someone where when I'm scrolling down Instagram, I look at people's like filtered realities and I'm just like, wow, I'm nothing like this. Like, I haven't been to the Bahamas for spring break, and it really hits you hard because it's really hard not to compare yourself. It's really hard not to see where you stand in relation to those like fancy posts, and I really do end up sulking about it. Well, what I do is I delete the app and get a reality check. But I think like that's something that I do want like more youth to be actively speaking about and just addressing, because when I talk to my friends one-on-one, like when we talk about Instagram, we're like, yes, like, oh, it affects all of us in kind of a negative light, but we still end up posting that like very filtered selfie, or we end up posting a very filtered perception of what it looks like, because like my Instagram does not properly reflect what my actual, like, this is what I look like in real life, right? And like I think that it is getting a little bit better, because if you actually go to a more artsy side of Instagram, you see people who are like teaching each other to cook in like 15-second videos, and you see these like amazing photography accounts, and you see little videos. A lot of my friends have photography accounts, and they're actually getting more and more popular. So I think like Instagram is now becoming, it is becoming more of an art space, kind of like a little bit what Tumblr is. And I think like we should focus more on like going a little bit beyond like the vanity that we see all the time. And I myself am trying to do that, like posting less about like the breakfast I ate and more about a conference as cool as this. So I hope that more youth, including myself, focus more on like what we are doing, how are we developing, what are we learning, rather than like the 600 selfie that I took and I'll post.
Yeah, I think the whole selfie thing is really interesting. I'm not a big selfie taker myself, just because, I mean, that's not to say that I've never taken a selfie in my life, because I have, and I think it's a very human thing, honestly, to take a selfie to show, because I think with this pressure of today, every human in here will want to show that they're beautiful too, and I think with selfies, it's kind of, it's like this, it's like everybody's showing that, I don't know, that they could be beautiful also. I think with media today, there's this huge pressure on women to be this thing that they're not, right? Like, you see these women, these models on TV, and it's this just not an attainable body type. And I think with selfies, it's kind of a regular person's way of proving that they're beautiful also. But it can also really show their insecurities too. So I think that's really interesting about selfies. And I think with social media in general, it is becoming an artistic platform. A lot of people are posting their artwork, and I have a lot of friends that post their photographs if they're a photographer. But I think that with our generation and with the next generation, social media does have to change, because you do compare yourself to you compare your lives to those of other people, and that's not what we're supposed to do. It really degrades us and it diminishes us, and I know that I got really depressed from watching other people post like these amazing photos, like, oh my God, like look at her new body, like her hair, her makeup looks amazing, and it's just, I didn't feel beautiful. So I think it does need to change, but I think that people are starting to speak up about that, and I think that people are starting to find a way to creatively express through social media without degrading others.
A question for Izza. How is your work affecting your Muslim friends inside America and also outside?
Okay, so I haven't, like one of the big projects I've worked on, they haven't actually focused on like me being Muslim, but a while back I started the pre-production for the 100 Hijabs project, and the idea for that was just my experiences as wearing a scarf, which, I mean, I'm so lucky to live in San Francisco that I've like not really received a lot of discrimination for it, but other places, I know girls who got their scarves ripped off, and it was just absolutely scary, and I was like, something needs to be done about it. So the idea behind was that like, one of my favorite sports is basketball and football, and when I say that, everybody gets this expression like, whoa, you play sports, or like, whoa, you speak English perfectly fine. And like, you'd be surprised how often that happens. And I'm just like, why are you so surprised that I'm able to do these things, right? So the idea was that like I was gonna interview and write blog posts and make small videos about 100 different girls who wear the hijab, and it would vary from like writers and artists to like basketball players and football players and chefs and stuff, so that people could actually see that like me wearing the scarf doesn't mean I'm oppressed, doesn't mean that I can't play sports, doesn't mean that I don't have a voice. it means that I'm able to do all those things. And next time when I say, oh, I love playing football, you shouldn't give me a expression of like, do you know what football is? Like, because it kind of like, I mean, it goes really, I know it's a very sly comment, and it shouldn't, like, most people don't pick up on it, but after it's happened so many times, I'm just like, this shouldn't be a thing. Like, again, it's the idea of like, I feel like I have to constantly defend myself and like really prove what am I doing and what do I stand for, because everybody has this like huge negative stereotype of who I am. So I definitely do wanna, I'm about to head out to college next year, and then I do wanna focus more on like presenting Muslim girls in a positive light, because I think especially after this election, it's very much needed for people to see that I am more than just the scarf I wear.
Thank you all for the very inspiring work that you're all doing. It's terrific. Just about 2 months ago, they announced that the millennial generation has outpaced my generation of the baby boomers. So you are now the largest generation in our country. And over the last 10 years, I'm in the media. I'm executive producer and just film distributor. And almost every year, especially this year, projects surface up about the youth vote. Last time around, 2012, only 12% of millennials voted. And so what's up with the 12%? How do we get it to 50%?
Okay.
There's the responsibility of the chair.
Right. Just want to say I was shocked by the baby boomer thing. From what I know, a lot of youth don't feel like their votes count, because that's what is predominantly coming across nowadays. If, like, regardless if we have something to say, just be like, oh, we hear you, and then nothing changes. So that's the same thing that comes down with voting. Majority of the time, be like, if I'm a vote, well, my vote might not count because you see me as incapable of knowing what's going on in the world. So 12% is good. I feel like that's way better than what we've had in the past, but to get to 50% is just elevating youth voices once again, just giving them that platform to speak and to, you know, feel encouraged to do certain things, and then voting will come with that, because then they'll know that my vote matters in whatever situation that may be. Yeah.
What can we do as adults to support you all in just being awesome?
I think that we just need space, and we just need support, and figurative space and also physical space. I think that sometimes adults try to be mentors, and they try to give a lot of really great advice, and some of it is like really just fantastic advice. But then what I've learned is that when we don't want to take that advice, it's like, oh, we're doing something wrong. Like, you know, this is the way to do it. You know, like they'll say, you know, I've been in your shoes before, I know. And it's like, well, I want to do a little differently this time. Sorry. So that, I mean, that's my response to that. I think physical and figurative space, and just support. I think just knowing that you guys are there also gives us comfort, and knowing that we have someone to back us up also gives us comfort too.
I would say creative space. Just trust that we know what we're doing, and we're going to produce the most amazing artwork that we can possibly make. And I can just speak from experience. Dan, who's actually my supervisor, allows me to make whatever piece of media that I want to make with a little bit of restriction, but it actually has helped me grow and has helped me respect him as a mentor, to just allow me to do what I want to do and then give me the feedback after. So just having creative space and listening and just trusting that we know what we're doing and we got this lovely generation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that's been said. Something I want to add is that I think just giving us opportunities to learn, yeah, just providing us opportunities to learn and expand our horizons. Because again, I'll also speak from experience. Jason is my boss, and working for him when I was first working for him 2 years ago, he said that he said that you're gonna produce an event, and I was like, what? Like, I don't know how to do that. But with excellent guidance, and he literally let me do majority of the stuff. He made sure that I made all the calls about what should we have and what we shouldn't have. And by the end of it, like, I started off, but I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But by the end of it, I'd learned so much and I'd gained so much confidence that it was just a great experience that I wanted to do it again and again. And same with other projects where I start off with I don't know what I'm doing, but the adults that are in charge, they provide an excellent opportunity to learn, like a non-textbook opportunity. And these lessons that I've learned and the guidances I've gotten and the advices that I've gotten, these stick with, and they are going to stick with me for a really long time. And I think that there should be more of these opportunities. Just take a youth, be like, hey, do you want to help me with this project? And be like, hey, let's do it like this. And, just learning in general is just so amazing. You make the mistakes, which is fun and heartbreaking, but then you learn from your mistakes and you come back even stronger. So in the end, there's only a win-win, right? Because either way, you're going to learn something, and that's all what it's really about.
I definitely agree. And I think it's also really important that adults find a balance, because I think that there's two types of adults that work with youth, right? You have the adults that don't care, they don't give enough support, and then there's the adults that give too much support, right? You have the adults that just gives these super vague instructions. They try to be really helpful to you, and they're like, here, we're going to give you this assignment, we're going to put it on your shoulders. But then it's when you ask them a question about the assignment, it's they don't give, they answer your question with questions, and it's help me, I don't know what to do, right? So I think that's one type of adult. And then the other type, the kind is those they're like helicopter moms, where they just kind of flutter over you, and they no, you should do it this way, and oh, that you're just not right, I know what kind of decisions you need to be making, but that's obviously wrong. You don't know what kind of decisions I need to be making, because you're not giving me the opportunity to make my own decisions. And so I think that if every adult could find that balance between giving support but also laying back a little bit, that would be bravo.
Just one more thing to add. I think there should be more, here in the Bay Area, we do have a ton of programs, a ton of organizations to get youth in the media. There's so much talent and stuff and, creative minds in those places, but understand that what they're seeing is either I gotta be a rapper, I gotta play a sport, or just go with what I'm seeing outside of people selling drugs or having beef with one another. And I just think if they were presented with an opportunity to either get into music or get into poetry or something, whether video making, whatever, I just think that they would see that light at the end of the tunnel of I do have a voice and I can express my feelings in other ways than being angry and stuff like that, and just taking their experiences and turning them into more creative things. So I think there should totally be more of that going on here.
Do we have time for one more? Okay, one more.
Hi. Can each of you describe what was the inspiration? Something that made things click for you, or the opportunity that you took that suddenly made your art or your experience something that you knew that you wanted to continue to do and express?
Yeah. My experience, my moment of enlightenment, I guess I would say, is when I was applying for college, actually not too long ago, about a year ago. I just finished my freshman year at SF State. I remember talking to my counselor about which colleges I should go to and the personal statement, right? So you have a bunch of prompts that you have to answer, and sometimes they can get really personal. And when I was writing my personal statement, I literally had no clue what to write about. And my counselor told me that, Myah, you have a crap ton of stuff that you could write about, because number one, you're black, number one, or number two, you're female and you live in East Oakland. Like, there you go. Like, and you already do so much. That's what she told me. And so that's where my inspiration came from a lot of my art. I really learned to focus on myself and my experiences, and I learned to focus on my people and our experiences also, and so that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from.
I think for me, it was like a series of small things building up, like small programs I had done, small projects I'd worked on. I'd always loved art as a kid, but I'd noticed as I got into like each grade as I went up and up for in school, like I was doing less and less art because there was a lot of stress to be doing really well in academics. Instead of taking art classes, I would be taking a language class, you know? And like looking back on it, I think one of the things that, in a way, that I consider art is that I think the way I wore my scarves. I started wearing it when I started middle school in 6th grade, and this is so embarrassing, but like when I first started wearing it, like I thought everything needed to be color coded, so I'd wear like a green scarf, a green jacket, and it was just too intense, man. Too intense. But looking back on it, and looking back at those embarrassing photos, I've noticed that like the way that I wear my scarves and how like my style has changed because I love fashion. I feel like it has been a form of art. And then as I started doing these youth programs that taught me how to make movies and how to make art and how to express myself, I was able to take it to the next level. And one of the last things that I wanted to add was that when we were previously talking about what adults can do, I just wanted to say, like, thank you all for being here, because the fact that you guys are giving us a stage and genuinely listening to us and listening to what we have to say, like, that means a lot, and you guys have already taken the first step, and the first most important step is listening to us. So from the bottom of my heart, like, thank you for, like, letting us be here. Thank you, Wendy. Yeah.
The inspiration came from, I was about 17 and a half, and I lost my best friend. He was killed. And then 3 months later, my grandmother died of lung cancer. So at that moment in my life, I lost 2 big people who inspired me to even do whatever it was I was doing at the time of 17. And then I got blessed with the opportunity to go to Rise and to be in the Media Arts and Culture Department and to be under the mentorship of Dan and Jose to learn video. And then it was probably like 2 months in, and I was like, I want to make a documentary about my best friend's life. And it was a really long process, but that's kind of where the inspiration came from. I did little projects here and there of like learning the camera, filming, and then editing, and then putting it together. And then soon after that, I was just like, this is what I want to do. This is what I love to do. And yeah, I've stuck with it for about 5 years now. So.
You guys, that was incredible.